Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's video I'm doing my review of NXT No Mercy 2025. So we started off with Siobhan Evans defeating Josh Briggs, and this was a great match to start. Siobhan is currently, I would say, Mr. NXT, and he's absolutely killing it. Especially to have such a good match against Sami Zayn, and then have a good match here as well. I feel like, it's been an especially good weekend for him. The dynamic worked really well. The Powerhouse versus the High Flyer always seems to work really well, but here it worked especially well. Both are definitely the future. I can almost guarantee Siobhan Evans will be NXT champion at some point. I feel like Josh Briggs is on his road to getting to that point as well. I really have enjoyed watching week by week the improvement of Josh Briggs as his character and in ring as well. These two have great chemistry together. Briggs was countering Siobhan Evans very well. There was a moment where Siobhan Evans kind of goes for a springboard off the bottom rope in a sat down position to set something up, and Briggs just kicked him straight in the back of the head because he knew that he was going for something particular there, which I thought was really good, and it shows that they were learning from the first match these two had a couple of weeks ago. I'd say this was a fairly even contest. I liked how Siobhan Evans was using really hard strikes to weaken Josh Briggs before he goes for his high flying moves, so then it takes him down easier. That was a really small detail that worked well. Siobhan Evans' selling is really, really great. I'd probably say at times it can be Dolph Ziggler-like, which is obviously the best kind of selling in my opinion. The beautiful landing on the feet from the avalanche chokeslam from Siobhan was really cool. Josh Briggs would really have a conversation with JBL over using the clothesline from Hell as his finisher, because he did some wicked clotheslines in this match just as transitional moves, so I feel like that would be a good fit for his character to have the clothesline from Hell as his finish. But yeah, it was a solid finish as well to the match, with Siobhan Evans hitting two quality cutters, one reversing from the chokeslam and the other one coming from the top rope. It's 1-on-1 for these two as their feud goes, so I assume they'll probably have a rubber match at some point, I'd assume on NXT television. But yeah, this was a very good match to start the show off, and I feel like Siobhan was the right winner, and I do hope we get that third match. I assume it might be to establish the number one contender for the NXT Championship at Halloween Havoc. After that, Sol Rucker defeated Jada Parker to retain the Women's Speed Championship. Obviously, we should have had Sol Rucker versus Lainey Reed. Lainey Reed got injured on the way to No Mercy, or I believe he was training for the match. So she got replaced by an unknown opponent who was revealed to be Jada Parker. Massive shame this only had a 5-minute time limit. I would have loved to see this match just have a proper match, the typical 15 to 20 minute match. I feel like the two will absolutely kill it, and I feel like their chemistry, just from this small match here, they kind of showed that they are on the same wavelength. I feel like a full match between them will be really, really good. I liked how Jada Parker didn't go for the high step after I don't know what it's called. She just kind of sits on him from the top rope. I'm sure there's a name for the move. But normally she does the high step afterwards, and it'll be a hip attack, wouldn't it? Like a dropping hip attack. But normally she goes for the high step afterwards. She didn't do that because, she has to save time. There's only 5 minutes, which is a good, small detail to put into the match. I really liked the finish. The Soul Snatcher through, as Jada Parker was coming back into the ring, Soul hit the Soul Snatcher to get the win. Jada more or less had this match won. She had, in my opinion, Sol Rucker dead to rights with the hypnotic on the outside, but for whatever reason, she took her eye off the ball. She got distracted by Zarya, and then she nearly got taken out by Last Legend, who she said that she cost Jada the match, but I don't believe that she did. But yeah, no, that's what messed her up. I expect better from Jada. She's a pretty smart. Her character, at least, is very smart, so I expected her to not fall for distractions on the outside, especially when Zarya wasn't really doing anything to distract her. That was a bit of a disappointing part of the match, but overall it was really fun. 5 minutes of action. Sol Rucker's had more or less a perfect year in NXT. I think there's only a couple people, maybe like Ethan Page or Obafemi, who's had a better year than her. But yeah, it continues here. She continues to be the double champion. I did fully expect her to lose the title here, and I feel like Jada would have been a fine opponent to lose to, but clearly that wasn't the case. So yeah, I look forward to seeing who she's got next, but hopefully her next feud will be for the North American Championship rather than the Speed Championship. Following that, Jordan Grace defeated Blake Monroe in a weaponized steel cage match. And yeah, this is a good match. I wanted a bit more red, a bit more blood would have been nice. Depending on what's next for these two, I feel like they should have a third match, as it's currently 1-1, just like the Javon and Briggs. I feel like there's definitely time to give them a third match so we get a definitive winner, especially with Halloween Havoc around the corner where they can do spin the wheel and make a deal for these two, which Blake should then win this match, because if they don't and they go on to separate things, Blake should have 100% won this one. They shouldn't. I feel like Jordan Grace doesn't need a win here. I feel like she's established herself enough in NXT, and again, the talks of her going to the main roster seem to be non-stop. So yeah, it would have made more sense to give the win to Blake, but I'm curious to see what's next from both. If they continue the feud and they have a third match, then I'm totally okay with Jordan getting a win here. I assumed with Grace in full white that there was going to be a bit of blood, but obviously that wasn't the case. The haircut was something I did not expect. I never thought, because normally when they do the haircut spot, they normally build to it during the feud, but no, this kind of came out of nowhere, and I'd argue it was one of the most extreme moments, even though nothing really happened. When I saw the scissors, I assumed she was going to stab her with it, but maybe, that's maybe too one way. I don't know, maybe they wouldn't do that, and I was just thinking too sadistically. Yeah, there was a rope break in a steel cage match. I'm fairly sure that's not a thing. I've never seen a rope break in a steel cage match, but that's a first time for everything. But yeah, that definitely shouldn't have been in there, but then Blake would have got the win and they would have messed everything up. I get that, but yeah, no, the rope break is weird for a steel cage. The diamonds, wasn't expecting diamonds. I honestly thought it was glass. I thought we were finally going to see some blood. I was just obsessed with the thought of them getting bloody here, but no, I didn't really see I get the point with the Blake Monroe thing, but it didn't really do any damage. There wasn't even any marks on the back from I can't remember who landed in him. I found it so irrelevant at that point. The pink and silver bin, not the full pink bin, but the pink and silver one, might be the sturdiest bin I have ever seen in wrestling. Blake Monroe did a stomp onto it with Jordan Grace inside it, and the thing was barely dented. So, I feel like weapons are getting more tough, which kind of defeats the point of wrestling, because they're supposed to bend every which way to then make it look like it's done more damage. But yeah, there was an awesome spot with the air raid crash through the table, which was the finish of the match, which, yeah, again, makes sense. I honestly thought they were going to go for a powerbomb or something. I thought Blake Monroe was going to reverse it into a powerbomb, but that wasn't the case. They went for the air raid crash, which was fine. Reminded me a little bit of the finish to War Games with Ciampa and Adam Cole, but obviously it wasn't as bad because they came off the top of the War Games cage. But no, it was a fun match. I fully enjoyed it. It wasn't as extreme as I wanted it to be, but it wasn't a bad match either way. I just maybe my head is just went a little too much towards the extreme side of stuff. But no, I said, if the feud is gonna continue, then fair enough. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be a bit disappointed that Blake didn't get the win here. Following that, we saw the Ava announcement of October 7th. We will get Invasion, and it will be just a normal episode of NXT on a Tuesday. We've got 2 Survivor Series styles matches for the men and for the women. Trick versus Oba, which I assumed at the time was going to be title for title, but I also assumed that Oba was going to win. So it looks like we're getting Trick versus Oba, and there must be a winner in that one, as well as the Hardys versus Dark State as a unification match for the Tag Team Championships. A TV show that should be a TNA. A TV show that should be a PLE, but we have to counter AEW's Title Tuesday is so annoying. Coming out in I want to say maybe next week, I have a video on the counter programming stuff that this won't be mentioned on because I've recorded it beforehand, but yeah, no, it's really annoying. I hate this whole counter programming thing because now we have to choose between what we watch live, whether we watch NXT or whether we watch AEW. And yes, I get people going like, well, AEW are the ones that moved, but they move every year at this point to a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. And let's be honest, it's nothing against AEW here, but we know that NXT will probably get more viewers either way. So why do they feel that they have to do a special episode just so they get more? But either way, I'm going to be watching AEW Title Tuesday, and I will watch Invasion after that is finished. But yeah, it's just really annoying that, again, we're always being forced to choose when we don't have to. And it's WWE and TKO going out of their way to make us choose and prove that they're the most dominant wrestling company, even though everyone already knows they already are. So it's silly, it's stupid, and yeah, it's starting to really get on my nerves a bit. Following that, Ethan Page defeated Tavion Heights to retain the North American Championship in what was a decent match. I'd say it was probably the weakest match on the card, but by no means was it a bad match. It was just not as good as the rest of them, in my opinion. Ethan Page wrestled Tavion Heights kind of matches, I thought, which for me was very unexpected. It was more submissions and mat-based wrestling. The backbreaker on the turnbuckle was a really cool spot, and I think it worked definitely to Ethan Page's advantage. Solid match. It was about as competitive I assumed it would be. It kind of went how I expected, other than the turnbuckle spot. Page continues to show how great he is in ring, wrestling multiple styles of match throughout, but mainly the mat-based and submission holds and stuff. I feel like there genuinely should be a conversation for Ethan Page to be in the Wrestlers of the Year category this year, because I feel like he's killing it, like especially with like the PWI stuff, which I know I've already kind of talked about on the channel. But he didn't get top 10, even though he was NXT champion and North American champion. Had a great feud with Javon Evans, and made, I know it's kind of not in the evaluation period, but the whole greatest North American gimmick has been doing really, really well. So I feel like he definitely should be in a conversation for one of the best wrestlers right now. So yeah, he's been killing him in it. I feel like Tavion Heights at some point will be the North American champion, and I'm sure he'll make a great North American champion. I just don't think he's quite ready yet. But again, they've got plenty of time to kind of mold him into a good North American champion, and got plenty of time to do it in as well. After the match, we saw El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. come on the screen. He called out Ethan Page for a match. I hope it's soon, at maybe a Worlds Collide that might be coming up, or a Triple Mania. But for Mr. All Ego to be North American and Latin American champion at the same time, I feel like would be a great decision. I feel like he would use that really, really well within his gimmick. But yes, this was a solid match. Not the best on the card, but not bad. Don't get me wrong, it was not bad at all. But yeah, really happy that Ethan Page got the win here, and I'm just loving what he's doing at the minute. After that, we saw Jacy Jayne defeat Lola Vice to retain the NXT Women's Championship, and this was a really good match. Jacy Jayne continues to shock the world, and I really have to stop betting against her, because she seems to be beating everybody at the minute, especially with her reign coming up to probably over 125 days at this point. You know, people have to really realise that she really isn't the most beatable champion. But no, this was a match of kind of 2 quarters and then a half, if that makes sense. But the first quarter was Jacy Jayne taking control, then the second quarter was Lola Vice, and then the second half of the match it evened out more, and yeah, it worked really, really well. The pacing wasn't as quick as I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be a lot quicker for a match, but it really wasn't. Jacy Jayne wrestled Lola Vice's kind of match, you know, a lot of holds and submissions and stuff, and yeah, it worked really well. It was good to see Jacy Jayne kind of expand her wrestling palette. But yeah, no, I love to see Fatal Influence back on the same page again, now they got rid of that dead weight Jasmine Nix. No, obviously, I'm joking. I don't mean that. But, you know, whenever it comes to interference, I know it's like one of the things that people hate about wrestling, but done really well, it kind of looks cool. And yeah, Fatal Influence do interference and kind of get involved in matches really well. Like, they seem to have found a really good dynamic between the group members, or at this point just Fallon and Jacy. And yeah, the interference worked very, very well here. Jacy Jayne got out of submissions very well and like very quickly, which I suppose shows that she kind of did her homework on Lola Vice. Both got 2 solid strikes in and were very close kickouts before we got to the stalemate, which was a moment I liked within the match. The discus elbow from Jacy Jayne into the spinning back fist from Lola Vice, with Jacy Jayne out in the ring and Lola Vice falling to the floor, I thought was a really cool moment. Set up very well for the hooded figure interference, which I assume is going to be Lainey Reed, depending on how bad her injury is. I assume like maybe they'll have someone else come into it. Obviously this was very last minute with Lainey Reed not being able to wrestle, so I assume that they just didn't have time to put someone together, so they just sent someone random out there, and then they'll kind of figure out who this third member is in the coming weeks. But I like the fact that Jacy Jayne is always one step ahead, whether she organised the hooded figure or whether maybe even Fallon Henley did it. I feel like it works either way for the way that Fatal Influence work as a group. And yeah, it got played very well, and Jacy Jayne continues to show just how good she is as a heel champion. But overall, it was a great match. I would probably argue it was my match of the night. I'd say I did enjoy it over in Saints, but no, I think I preferred this overall. But yeah, I was annoyed there was no reveal of the hooded figure, but I kind of get it now that I've had time to think about it. If they don't know who, like how long people are going to be out for and all that kind of stuff, I get they need time to make it work on a storyline basis, which is fine in my opinion. I'd rather them figure out storylines before revealing who it is instead of doing it on the night and then kind of working around that. So yeah, I think for me all this was very good. The match was really good. The way that Fatal Influence work just makes me more and more of a fan the more I see them wrestle and the more storylines they have around the championship. So yeah, I've got nothing really bad to say about this one. It all worked very, very well. And finally, in the main event, Ricky Saints defeated Obafemi to become the new NXT champion. And this was a good match. I put down in my notes, it felt like a return to form for Oba, but then he lost, so was it? But this is one of the better matches Oba has had this year, especially since winning the championship, or probably since Stand and Deliver, actually. But no messing around with him. Now that he's lost, there's literally nothing more for him to do in NXT. I assume he maybe puts over Trick on October 7th at Invasion and then goes up to the main roster. What I don't want is here for him to kind of dwindle in NXT, not doing much and kind of being stuck around the kind of no one knows what to do with him, a bit like they did with Bron Breakker. Like, if they're going to have him lose the NXT title, send him up to the main roster, because as I said, there's literally nothing else for him to do. He's the most dominant North American champion of all time. He's been a dominant NXT champion. They don't need to give him anything else in NXT, just send him. But yeah, for a while this felt like North American champion Obafemi. He dominated this match for the majority. I'd probably say for the most part it was about 80% Oba and 20% Ricky. There was a slow methodical pace to it and it's done really well by Obafemi. The only other person I can really compare it to and the way it works as far as like how the match feels when watching it is he kind of wrestles like Roman Reigns. So, you know, that's a very good thing to have on the roster, someone who wrestles like Roman Reigns, or at least I feel like he does. Yeah, once Saints got into it, the match turned more even. It didn't really go at any point towards Ricky. Ricky wasn't really in control of the match at any point. It kind of was even or Oba was on top. Saints spears like Jey Uso, it's not great, but the powerbomb later on was pretty cool from him. Yeah, I thought the first fall from grace was going to be the end of the match, but 4 DDTs later and Ricky Saints manages to put down the ruler. And yeah, I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of disappointed with this one, but I am a big fan of Obafemi, so of course I'm going to kind of have that personal bias. Match-wise, it was good. Saints was on the back foot for the majority though, which kind of took away from the match in my opinion. I feel like this is the second match on this show that had the wrong winner. I feel like this should have been Oba, and then the Blake Monroe should have won her match. But Saints is champion, I'm curious about. I'm hoping he's going to be a good champion. I'm not sure quite how long this is going to last for. I assume it might last for a fair bit, because there's really no main challengers for the world champion of the major championship in NXT, I've noticed. So hopefully they'll start bringing more people in who can then challenge Ricky for the championship. But yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. But my main concentration here is seeing and hoping that Obafemi goes up to the main roster and doesn't get stuck doing nothing in NXT. So those are my thoughts and opinions on NXT No Mercy. Overall, I feel like it was a good night of wrestling. The results kind of let it down a little bit. It wasn't NXT's best PLE. I'd probably say this is pretty bog standard for NXT. I expected a little bit more, but it's fine. I said some of the results didn't go the way that I thought, and obviously didn't go the way that I would have preferred either, which is the same thing. But Oba getting the win, very disappointing. Oba not getting the win was disappointing. Blake not winning was disappointing as well, and I don't know, Lola not getting the win, I feel like she was set up perfectly to win the NXT Women's Championship, but clearly that's not the case. But I am enjoying JCJ as champion, so I'm not as annoyed about that one. And the invasion stuff is just really annoying. I feel like I said everything I need to say in that part of the video. It's just, the kind of programming is just starting to do my head in a lot, so... but yeah, the invasion definitely should be a PLE, but if it's anything like the first invasion, it won't be the end of the invasion storyline, and hopefully we get a PLE hopefully in November, which we'll see kind of them go head to head again and kind of finish off the feud. But yeah, so put down below in the comments what you think of the pay-per-view, what you think the teams might be at Invasion. Is there a video you'd like to see with me kind of guessing what the teams are going to be before Tuesday? Which will be a pretty quick turnaround, but if it's something you want to see, do comment it down below. And yeah, so I'm curious to see what you guys think of the invasion stuff, whether it should be a PLE or whether it's fine just on a normal Tuesday. But yeah, do like the video if you enjoyed it. Do subscribe. There's a lot of other stuff coming. There's the top 20 list of my favourite tag team matches. I've done a video on the counter programming thing, which again, as I said, won't mention Invasion and Title Tuesday, but does go through the PLEs that have been counter programmed, as well as a lot more wrestling content, as well as coverage of Crown Jewel and Bound for Glory in a couple of weeks. So do stick around for those. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.